Welcome to Maranatha Minute with Bishop Richard Frank. Maranatha Minute is a production of Maranatha Ministries, UPC. For the next 5 to 7 minutes, Bishop Frank will talk about various topics that will help and encourage you in your walk with God. Your comments are both encouraged and appreciated. Be sure to like us on Facebook, and follow us on YouTube, and be sure to click the bell so you'll always know when we go live. Now relax, and be blessed by this week's version of Maranatha Minute.
And welcome, everyone. So glad to have you joining me on this version of Maranatha Minute. And I'm so sorry that, I was off for a couple of weeks there, vacations and holidays and all of that. But we're back at it here for tonight's version of Maranatha Minute. And I just want to really quickly point out something that I brought out in my sermon on this past Sunday that I entitled, "Here Am I, Send Me." I mentioned in that sermon why it was so important that we reach out and bring people to church, encourage people to come to church, get them into the house of God. There's a move on in society, has been for a while now, where people think they can have their own relationship with God outside of the church. They can talk with God, and don't get me wrong, you absolutely can have your own relationship outside of the church. You can talk with God outside of the church, but you can't have a relationship with God. I might get in trouble for saying this, but without a church, unless there is not one available to you, because the Bible clearly dictates to us that we should not forsake the assembling of ourselves together. And so our motive here and our move here is to make a push for inviting people to come to church with you. I talked about that on Sunday. In fact, I believe the past couple of Sundays I talked about that, the importance of church attendance, the importance of inviting people to church, not giving up. And one of the statements I made, and I just want to expound upon this for a minute, and then I'll wrap it up tonight. One of the statements I made, I believe it was this past Sunday's sermon, is that I talked about when it comes to the church service. It's more than the church service is important because it's more than just the music. It's more than just coming to hear good music, and we have good music. I take nothing away from our musicians, all of our musicians and our singers. They're just phenomenal. They're self-giving. They're sacrificing. You can sense the sacrifice that comes through in their worship and in their singing, and they do certainly lead us in worship. They're not entertaining us, although you could sit back and be entertained. They're not entertaining us. They are worshiping God in song, in music, and inspires us to do the same. But it's more. This church service is more than just the good music, because you can find churches in this capital region with better music. I'm sure. I don't know of any, but I'm sure you could find some. And I mentioned that it's more than just a good sermon, and I appreciate all the positive feedback I get about my sermons, about the things that I've said, and people have come up to me during the week or after the service and told me what a powerful sermon. I appreciate all of that feedback. It does bless me to know that I'm being a blessing in my sermons, and I'm not trying to compete with some of the great preachers that are online in our own organization that you can listen to on YouTube. I appreciate the fact that you come out to church and don't let YouTube be your church, regardless of who the preacher is. I mean, there's other preachers on YouTube besides me, but it's church attendance is more than the sermon. It's more than the music. It's more than the sermon. I mentioned that it's more than just seeing other people. It's more than just being around each other, although that's inspiring. All of these things are inspiring. I mean, I get around people, talk to people. It's just inspiring. It's inspiring to see new people come through the doors. It's inspiring to see people worship. It's inspiring, all of those. It's inspiring to talk to you. It's inspiring to see your faces. All of those things are very inspiring. But the reason we come to church is more than that. It's more than the music. It's more than the preaching. It's more than the fellowship. It's more than that. And really what it is, and I cannot expound upon this statement enough to do it justice. It is wrapped up in the fact that Jesus said, wherever 2 or 3 of you are gathered together in my name, there I am in the midst. There I am in your midst. And that's why church attendance is so important. That's why it's important that you're there. You could come so down, so discouraged, so beaten down, so depressed. Come to church. You can be on the highest mountaintop of your life, full of excitement, and don't even feel like you need church. You're just so on fire. Come to church. Because in the presence of the Lord, and wherever 2 or 3 of you are gathered together in my name, there I am in your midst. The miraculous can happen in a split second, in a moment's time. Something can happen that, and I'm not taking away from counselors. With the multitude of counselors, there's safety. We need counsel. We need each other. But God can do in a split second time what months and months and years of counsel can't do. He can encourage, he can strengthen, he can change circumstances, he can fix broken hearts, he can change tormented minds, he can heal broken bodies, he can deliver from demon possession or from flesh possession, fleshly desire possession. He can do in a split second's time what it takes us to do a lifetime to accomplish. That's the main reason we need to come together in the house of God. And when we come to the house of God, come focused on him, to give him the glory. You've come out of a hard week. You've come out of a difficult time. You've had trouble on your job. You've had trouble in your home. You've had trouble with your family. You've had trouble with your kids. You've had trouble with your coworkers. You've had trouble with your bosses. You've had trouble with your subordinates all week long. And you bear these burdens, and we come broken. Come to the house of God. Drag yourself, if you have to the house of God, because Jesus can do in a split second's time what man cannot do in a lifetime. He can change a heart, change an attitude, change our feelings, transform. He can do all of that. And so when the Bible says, forsake not the assembling of ourselves together, and even more so as we see the day approaching, that's a whole nother. Maybe I'll preach on that sometime. See the day approaching, why we need to even more so be in the house of God. Because what is the day that's approaching? It's the end times and all that's going to happen in the end times. If we ever needed to go to a place where Jesus can transform us in a split second's time, we need now to experience that. And that's what we experience in the house of God. I hope I'll see you this Sunday. And if you're not in this area, if you're watching me some other area, get to church. Get to church. If you don't know where to go, put a comment right in this video, and I'll get on and tell you where to go. I'll show you where to go. Get to church. Don't forsake the assembling of yourself together. Not for the sermon, not for the music, not to see the people, even though you get all of those benefits, but because if you worship God, he inhabits the praises of his people. And where Jesus is, anything can happen. God bless you. If you're local to the capital region, I hope I'll see you with us this Sunday.